Hey crafters, welcome to today's Tutorial Tuesday. So I'm really excited about this tutu. This is actually one of my favorite things with Tunisian crochet. And what we're going to cover today is how to do the Tunisian knit stitch. Now the reason I like this so much is because it applies the same Tunisian methods that we've been learning. So it has that crochet feel, but you make this fabric that looks like knit. So I'll show you a little project, this little bunny here. It's kind of scary but really cute, I think. Little ears. I made this, found a thing online where you crochet or knit or whatever a square of fabric and you stitch it up a certain way and make it into a bunny. Anyways, that's kind of irrelevant. The reason I've got this little bunny on here today is because I made the square that I made the bunny out of using the Tunisian Knit Stitch. So if you look at the bunny there, the stitching looks like knit. It has those V's that go up and down that are familiar with knit. It doesn't have that crocheted look where like in crochet you have individual stitches, but instead it has a knit look where it's all woven together and has that really pretty pattern. I do not know how to knit. Technically I've done a little bit of knitting, but it was with that Starbella yarn, and so it's very different than actual knitting. So I consider that I don't really know how to knit, but I do know how to Tunisian crochet, and so I use the Tunisian Crochet knit stitch to make this knit-like fabric. And I think it's really cool because it works up pretty much just like a knit piece of fabric, but it's so much easier because you use one hook, not two needles. Okay, I'm just gonna be real for a minute here. I have mad respect for people who knit because I have a hard enough sometimes catching the yarn with the hook on the crochet hook. I don't know how you people do it with just the needles, how you like catch it on the needle and pull it through. I don't get how you do it without a hook. Mad respect for you, but it's also not something that I want to spend the time learning, especially since I already know how to crochet. So the Tunisian knit stitch is really cool because you can create some fabrics and projects that look knit and that can kind of mimic some knit things, but you don't have to actually learn how to knit. I mean, how cool is that? So it might sound scary, it might sound daunting, but I promise that it's doable. And what you're gonna find is the trick to this really isn't much different than anything that we've done so far. It is super duper similar to the Tunisian Simple Stitch. There's just one little itty bitty change on where we insert the hook, and that's gonna make the world of difference, and it's really easy to catch on to if you've already been able to learn the Tunisian Simple Stitch. So I've got my piece that we worked on last week, and I'm just gonna start working up some rows of the Tunisian knit stitch in today's tutorial, and I'll show you how to crochet this fun Tunisian stitch. So as I said, I'm using the same piece of fabric that I was working on from last week's tutu. Now a couple things to keep in mind. I haven't shown you this before, but when you look at the back of your Tunisian work, it will look different than the front. Now what is nice is while the front of the stitches will look different, just like how the Tunisian Simple Stitch here looks vastly different than the Tunisian Knit Stitch, the back of both those kinds of stitches will have approximately the same look. So that is nice that any kind of stitch provides a roughly consistent backing to it. Another thing I'll mention is I have been using this 6.5mm K hook from my Denise Interchangeable Crochet Hooks kit. However, the Tunisian Knit Stitch I found is one of the tightest and most dense of all the Tunisian stitches. So sometimes if I'm working a project where I first say either the Tunisian Simple Stitch or perhaps a purl stitch, when I get to the knit stitch, it sometimes is a good idea to go up a hook size just because the knit stitch tends to be so much tighter than the other stitches. For today's project, I'm not going to worry about it, but I will just mention that as you get going, if you notice that your project seems to shrink as you get to the knit stitches, that perhaps going up a hook size would be a good idea. So as we do with any Tunisian stitch, we need to start by working the forward pass of our row. Again, we don't do anything fancy on this edge, and we skip this first spot right here. And we're going to come to the next up-down post right there. Now, you're going to do pretty much the same thing. What you do with the Tunisian Simple Stitch is you insert from right to left. We're going to do pretty much that, except instead of inserting from right to left, we're going to insert from front to back. So instead of going right to left, we want that hook to go all the way to the back of the work. And then we're going to catch our yarn with a yarn over and pull it through to the front. And we'll end up with 2 loops on here. So here's another look. You have this spot right here, This is our up-down post. We're just going to come in right here and go straight to the back. So you can almost start to see how that V might form. This is the post. We're just going to go right in here to the back. And then once we're on the back side, yarn over and pull through the spot. Now what is interesting with Tunisian crochet is you start to see the pattern forming on the row below what you're working on. So in the last row before we started this video, I had worked a row of Tunisian Simple Stitch. However, this row up here, I'm doing Tunisian Knit Stitch. However, you'll start to see the Tunisian Knit Stitch look forming down here, and it'll be more obvious once we do a couple rows. So we're going to keep doing the same process going the whole way across. So go to my next post right here and insert from front to back. Yarn over, pull through one. If you want to think of it in terms of the simple stitch, it's like you go from right to left, except instead of staying in front with the hook, you push it to the back, right through there, underneath all that fabric, and yarn over, pull through one. And just work this the entire way down. Once more, when you get to this last stitch, you want to come underneath this post right here and this side edge. So we're going to go right under there. Yarn over and pull through one. So now we've worked the forward pass. Also, this is part of why this stitch is so much more dense, because we're kind of pulling, instead of from left to right pulling these loops through, we're pulling these loops to the front of the fabric. You can see here, here's the top. And so because we're pulling it to the front of the fabric, it tends to make the front of the fabric tighter and the back of the fabric looser. So to avoid that, what's helpful is if each time you pull one of these loops through, you make sure that you pull enough through to achieve better tension. So sometimes pulling a little bit more through, like I did on these first ones, will help the hook and the stitches sit more on top of the work, versus these ones where I didn't pull as much through on the loops, it's sitting more towards the front of the work. So that's something to keep in mind with your tension when you're working on this stitch. Also, going up a hook size is sure to help. And now to complete the return pass of this row, I'm going to do the exact same thing I've been doing all along. Yarn over, pull through one, and then yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, and repeat it all the way back to the other side. And then once you're left with one hook on your loop, you are done with the row. So you can start to see it forming right here. You can kind of see these upward V's. Let's do another row so we can really see the pattern start to form. So again, I just keep my loop that's on the hook here on the side, don't do anything fancy with it, and I skip the first spot here. Then I'm going to come right to this first post and go from front to back, catch my yarn, and pull a loop through. So if I keep the tension really tight, it's going to tend to sit more in front, but if I pull enough slack through, the stitch can sit more on top of the work. Go to my next spot here, you can kind of see it start to angle differently, so I'm just going to go right in there, from front to back, yarn over, catch my yarn, pull it through, and work that slack up so I get nice tension. Keep working this all the way down. Once more in this last stitch, we're going to come underneath this bottom one right here and underneath this side one. So just kind of insert your hook there, and over, pull through one. So that is the forward pass. Now to work the return pass, yarn over, pull through one on that first side, and then yarn over, pull through two, all the way across. And there you go, now we've worked a few rows of the Tunisian Knit Stitch. You can see on my fingers here how it really has that knit look. Below, of course, is the Tunisian Simple Stitch, but these rows up here are the Tunisian Knit Stitch that we just learned today. Again, I can't stress this enough, but it's really important that you work on your tension. You know, that's something that I still sometimes struggle with, especially with this Tunisian Knit Stitch, and it's one of those things that just takes practice. The more you do it, the better of a feel you will get for it. But as you use better tension, your stitches will turn out nicer and more consistent. Here's a look from the back. As I was saying, that the back pretty much has this kind of knit purl stitch look. It is a little bit different. You can see how it's a little bumpier where we did the Tunisian Knit Stitches and a little smoother where we did the Tunisian Simple Stitch, but overall the backing looks roughly the same. So that is nice when you change between stitches. But now you know how to Tunisian Knit Stitch. So there you have it. Now you know the Tunisian knit stitch. Again, like I said, that's one of my favorite stitches with Tunisian crochet, and that's part of why I learned it in the first place, because I like the way knit looks, but I really don't feel like mastering how to use 2 knitting needles. But this is so awesome because I can use crochet things that I already know and just use the Tunisian techniques to get that knit look. And it's super easy to combine with other crochet stitches. You know, that's what's really cool about Tunisian crochet is I could do a row of Tunisian crochet and then swap over to doing a row of just regular crochet. So it really opens up a whole new world of textures and patterns. So I hope that you enjoyed today's video. Make sure you keep practicing. Don't forget to keep practicing the simple stitch. Start practicing the knit stitch, work on your tension. And I might feel a little weird at first, but I promise if you stick with it that you will eventually be able to master it and you will be able to enjoy working with Tunisian crochet. So make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I've got some more videos about Tunisian crochet coming out in January, so make sure you subscribe and hit the little bell notification thing so that way you don't miss any of those videos. But until next week or whenever my next video comes out, happy crafting! So when I'm filming this right now, I have to go back to school tomorrow. Yay! I'm kind of excited, but anyways, I actually have a change of plans because I watched The Greatest Showman in theaters last night, which was like, the music was awesome by the way. But anyways, I'm gonna run away and join the circus. I know the circus isn't a thing anymore, but I'm running away to join the circus, so I don't know what's gonna happen to Crafters Autonomous, but I just wanted to let you all know that.